Hello and all, welcome to a Galaxy Man Show interview show. So basically for my guest today is this incredible actress known by the name of Aislinn. She's been the incredible role of Poison Ivy in this incredible DC fan film. So I'm about to add Aislinn into the live now and have a chat with Aislinn about her incredible roles that she has been in. So yeah, let's get started. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. It's a
Awesome.
miserable day in London. How about you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. It's actually night now in Australia, so yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for coming on to my show, by the way. It's such a pleasure having you on.
Oh, it's an honour.
To people that don't know who you are, if you can give a bit of backstory about who you are and what you do, and then we'll dive right into the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Aislinn Diath. I'm a actress and writer. I specialise primarily in film, though I love theatre as well. And I've been working for around the past 10 years professionally in the UK. I'm probably best known for my work in FMV games like The Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker and The Shapeshifting Detective. But I've also got a great film coming out this year, and I've done a number of shorts.
Awesome. So we'll dive right into the questions now. So for my very first question, you were actually in this incredible DC fan film that I discovered you in, and you played the incredible role of Poison Ivy. In this incredible DC fan film. What was the whole experience like getting to play this iconic DC character?
It's amazing. I think something that working on the fan film really taught me was if you want to play a character, you just have to go and make that happen for yourself. I'd seen Poison Ivy portrayed in a number of different ways, and I think for me personally, the best ways that she's ever portrayed are in the video games and in the animations. They're astonishing. But I'd also seen her portrayed in ways that I didn't like, very kind of two-dimensional, really uninteresting kind of depictions of her. So I wanted to do more with that. So writing the film and getting to play Ivy was this amazing opportunity. And it was incredible. From start to finish, it felt like a voyage of discovery.
Awesome. So on to my very next question. So what was your whole favorite memorable moment or scene to shoot in the film of playing Poison Ivy?
Oh God, there were so many. I think part of it was one of the people that I got to work with for the first time was the amazing Claire, who, if you haven't seen the film, big spoiler alert, Harley Quinn appears in the film in her first iteration before she's even become Harley Quinn. And that was really lovely. I've got a lot of favourite moments from the film, but working with this actress who went to the same drama school as me, but years after I went, getting to see how she worked was brilliant. And I think she picked up on the role so quickly, and we developed this kind of closeness for the scene that was so necessary. And I thought she did a brilliant job. To be honest, though, all of it, I mean, watching Charlotte, who was our set designer, put down and break down these incredible sets in a matter of hours was like watching a miracle happen. It was crazy. This woman has superpowers herself. We're just very lucky to have the crew and cast that we did. They're brilliant people.
Well, can I just say, you really pulled off the role of Poison Ivy in the fan film. It was truly sensational, and you did such an incredible job. It was such.
Oh, thank you.
It was such like a really good iconic role that you were in. Like, really, like this, the fan. To people that haven't seen the fan film, definitely go check it out. You're incredible in it. So yeah, highly recommend people go check that out. So on to my very next question. You have also been in a horror called Liar Rather, and you played the role of Maria. What was that whole experience like for you?
So Lair is it's a really fantastic film. I'm so excited for it to come out so that everyone can see it. And it's now finished as a movie, so we're hoping that it comes out in the next year or so, although obviously in these times, who knows. It's the thing that I love about Lair as a film is it's about this family of women who are really going through some scary stuff themselves. I mean, my character Maria is in her first ever relationship with a woman. She's just come out of a nasty divorce. She's got 2 kids, one of whom is a teenager who's going through her own stuff. And they just kind of get dropped in this situation that's highly complicated and fraught with tension constantly. So you get this kind of juxtaposition of the horror that's going on in their real lives, trying to just make normal life work, and the horror that's happening kind of around them, this paranormal horror. And, you know, it's impeccably directed and written by Adam Ethan Crowe. Our producer, Shelley Atkin, was the VP of Finance for a lot of areas in Fox. She's now helping run Ditto Films, and she is the best producer I've ever worked with. And that team is just sensational. We had an incredible DOP. Our sound guys are amazing. We were just really lucky. I think as a huge fan of horror myself as well, it's such a joy to be behind the scenes and kind of see how the strings are working of all the puppetry and the, you know, all the gore and the creepy bits. To see how they ramp up that tension is fascinating.
Awesome. So that's my very next question. So you were actually in a BBC show called Silent Witness back in the day. What was that whole experience like, getting to be on a BBC show?
Oh, it's amazing. I think it's the first time you do TV is really scary, and working for the BBC is so intimidating because it's the BBC, you know. But the role was great. I mean, I was given this kind of little gem of a role. It's a really tiny part, but essentially there are 2 episodes written around my character, who is a stripper named Caitlin, who at the beginning of the first episode is found murdered, and it kind of goes back in time and you work out how it happens. So I got to work with the amazing Amelia Fox, which was a career highlight. And she is so humble and so talented, and watching her work was just really something quite extraordinary. And I think because I wasn't particularly old when I was doing it. I think I was 24 when I filmed Silent Witness, 25. So it was so inspiring to watch, and she was so kind to me. I mean, I was this tiny little role. I didn't know anything about anything, and she was very, very kind in a time where she really didn't have to be. She was a very busy woman. But she made time for me, and that is something I'll probably never forget. I think there's also something. It was the first time I ever had my own trailer, which is like this, it's this Hollywood moment that you just don't ever get over. I'm sure at some point that will become boring. It hasn't become boring to me yet. I still get those excited butterflies whenever I see my character name on a door.
Awesome. So on to my very next question. As you mentioned before, you were actually in Dr. Decker and the shape-shifting. What was that whole experience like for you?
Well, that was kind of one of the things I think that kick-started my presence on social media. I was a YouTuber as well as being an actor before that, but I gained this kind of audience around when I was doing the FMV games. I'd never heard of FMV before I got the part on Dr. Decker as Mariana, who's this damaged siren of a human being, and she's wonderful. It was a challenge because I got delivered this 45-page monologue. And initially, because it was the first time Deveki Productions were making an FMV game, they weren't quite sure how it was going to go. So it was all quite on the spur of the moment, quite on everyone's feet. So they told me, like, don't worry about learning the lines, just get used to the lines, get familiar with them. And what we'll do is we'll have this teleprompter going, which they did on the day of filming. But what they realised, luckily, before I got on set, was if you don't know your lines, the teleprompter won't help you because you'll just be doing this throughout all the filming and it looks really artificial. So they got in touch with me about a week and a half before I shot and said, look, we know it's a week and a half before you're shooting. We know it's 45 pages of monologue, but could you try and learn it? And to this day, I don't know how I did. honestly. I think it was really good writing and that really helped. But I think working in FMV is really interesting because the fans are amazing. The characters are really interesting. You get to kind of be a bit more heightened than you would normally be in film. And that's such fun. It really feels like playing.
Awesome. So on to my very next question. So what's it like getting to be a strong female character in, say, like a TV series or movie? And how does it make you feel playing a strong female lead?
I think I struggle with the term strong female lead, if I'm honest, because for me, the most interesting part of being an actor is playing human beings. And you can be a human being with superpowers, you can be a human being who's also an elf, or, but I think at the very core of all characters, you've got this heart of empathy and you've got this heart of synchronicity with yourself, trying to find something, a little seed in the character that you can relate to and then building up from there. Something I really strive for is to kind of get realism into every character that I play, regardless of whether that character is a heightened character who's kind of, I don't know, she's got magical powers or something, or just an ordinary mum who is just trying to live her life. And I think that's all we can really ask for. I think there's something to be said for this kind of post-Me Too movement where it's not that women always want to play really strong characters, it's that we want to be properly represented on screen. And I hope that's what I'm slowly achieving in my career, is playing those complicated characters that aren't just seen through the male gaze. I feel lucky enough that the characters that I've played, particularly in my late 20s and early 30s, have allowed me to do that and recreate real life on screen and stage.
Awesome. So on to my very next question. So who inspired you as a person to get into acting in the first place?
It's tricky. I was so young when I knew I wanted to be an actor. It wasn't something that I came to as an adult. I was a kid. I think, like so many actors, we're just show-offs as kids. But my aunt was an actor, and one of my earliest memories is going to see her in a show she was doing. She had this tiny part, but being backstage was like walking into an enchanted castle. It was incredible. And then as I got older, watching things like Bette Davis as an actor was just astonishing. Like, I don't think I've ever watched Bette Davis in a role where I've walked away not thinking about it for days, if not weeks afterwards. And I then went away and kind of read everything about her, and reading about her as a person was just like, she was such a bitch in the best possible way. Like, she took control of Hollywood in a time where women could not do that. She got tied into contracts and managed to break those contracts in ways that were clever and engaging. And she's, I think, someone that, although I don't strive to be like, I look up to enormously.
Awesome. So on to my very next question. So what have you learned about yourself as a person during COVID?
Oh God, so much. I think the most important lesson for me is something that I'd kind of started learning before COVID, but it's really come into its own, is that you have to have an exterior life. You can't just be your career. And I think watching a lot of my peers go through COVID, especially the peers who have like avoided getting into relationships because they're worried it would distract from their careers, or avoided kind of putting down roots, I see them get to their 30s, and particularly during this kind of weird time we're in, and work has dried up. There's not a lot going on. Like, I'm extraordinarily lucky that I can do voice jobs from home. I've done some work with a couple of amazing American theatre companies over Zoom and stuff, but there's not a lot happening at the moment unless you have a really kind of preset supportive standing in the community already. And I think never before has it been so important to have more of a life, have other hobbies, have things that bring you joy and give you validation, and find that ability to give validation to yourself.
Awesome. So on to my very next question. If you could be in any TV or movie franchise, what would it be and why?
Oh, that's so impossible, dude. I was dreading this question. So there are so many. I mean, for me, I always think of this question, and the thing that always comes into my head is often I don't want to come in at the end. I want to be there like for the best bit of it. So I always think of stuff like The Haunting of Hill House. I think Mike Flanagan is extraordinarily talented. I think, I haven't been able to watch his latest series, but everything else I've seen him do, I think is just brilliant. So I'd love to work with him on something like Haunting of Hill House or Gerald's Game or one of those amazing psychological horrors. I love the Marvel Universe. I've just been rewatching all the Marvel Universe films and they're great. We've just done Civil War, which
nice.
does not get enough appreciation, right? Like, it's amazing. And it's on different levels as well. Like, I watch it and I'm like, how did I not get how brilliant this film was the first time I saw it? It's amazing. So yeah, I guess stuff like that. American Horror Story, the first kind of 3 or 4 seasons I thought were amazing. If I could do something like that, I'd be so happy. Love sitcoms. I mean, I watch a huge amount of TV. So whenever...
To recommend you a show, by the way, I could actually see you in Doctor Who as a companion.
I would love that. I would love that. You'd be
incredible as the role of a companion. You would, because you have that kind of companion vibe I'm getting from you. So yeah.
I do love that. I've seen a few of the newer Doctor Who series, and I was a huge fan of Eccleston. I know that that's quite a controversial thing, and I loved Tennant. But I think I do love the idea that the companions are these straight talking people that kind of, they bring him back to humanity and they bring him back to logic in a way that I just love. I mean, I don't think I'll ever get over Billy Piper and David Tennant's storyline.
Yeah, Rose and the Doctor forever.
Oh, completely.
Yeah. So on to my very next question. So what are the positives and negatives into the whole acting industry, and how do you get through those negatives as a person?
It's so difficult. This job it's the best job on earth when you're working, and I am never more kind of career happy and buzzed than when I'm on set or learning lines or prepping for a role. But so much of the career, and I don't think people kind of realise this enough, is waiting or doing a day job. And we have this kind of, it's slowly changing, but there's a lot of snobbery about actors having day jobs. But the reality is we don't all come from wealthy families. We don't actually earn huge amounts for the work that we do. So we need to keep money coming in to pay bills, rent, mortgage, feed our kids, whatever, and that's really difficult. I think especially, I had a day fairly recently where Variety magazine, which I've read since I was a kid, I used to have pages from Variety stuck on my wall, and they did an article about Lair, and I got mentioned in it, and it was huge. I burst into tears. I drank a lot of Prosecco. I was just a mess. I was so excited. And I just had this amazing email about a voiceover job that I was going to do, and I had a job from another director asking about a film for the future, and it was an amazing buzzy time. And the next day I had to go and do customer service on the phone, and be this kind of anonymous, not even earning London living wage person. And that's so hard, that flip. The way I get through it is that, I set my expectations really low. If I get to work, if I get to do regular acting work, even if that's maybe 3 times a year, or, a bit of voice work and a couple of times a year, a great film, then I try and make that enough. I try and get myself to a point where the day jobs that I do, the waiting periods, the periods where I'm not doing the job, those are just, part of the job rather than times in between them. So I think that's probably my best advice to anyone who's starting out in the acting career, is to not expect that you're going to be working all the time, because even successful actors and a lot of my friends who are really well known, they don't work all the time. They still stress out about money. A lot of them still have side hustles, and there's no shame in that.
Awesome. So on to my very last question. So what's next for you for 2021, that you would like to announce on the show?
So there's nothing I can really announce yet because everything is very tied up in secrecy and it's all very dependent on what happens with this mad pandemic. Basically there's a number of projects that when I can announce them, I will be very excited to do so, and I'm not going to shut up about them. We've got there's a game in development with Deveki, so we're waiting to see what happens with that. If we're going to be able to do that, we'd love to, and I love Deveki as a team, so fingers crossed. I've been asked about a couple of other games, so we'll see. I do a lot of work with Six to Start as well, who do Zombies Run. I recorded something with them earlier this year. I think that's come out now, and I think there's some more work in the pipeline there as well. So have to wait and see.
Awesome. Well, can I just say thank you so much for coming onto my show. It's been such a pleasure having a chat with you, Aislinn. To people that haven't seen Aislinn's work, definitely go support Aislinn. She has one incredible, bright future ahead of herself. Any last final thoughts that you would like to say on the show to people?
I guess just keep safe, wear a mask, get the vaccination when you can, and keep smiling, guys. It's hard at the moment, but you've got this. Remember, it's a difficult time, not a difficult life.
Morning, sweetie.
Late night.
You'll want to get up for this. We're moving you today.
Let me guess. Closer to Dr. Wood's office.
Now, honey, didn't you hear? Dr. Wood got arrested last night. Apparently, he was behind all those deaths. The police found a whole bunch of those poisonous plants in his home. And then the Batman left him tied up and hanging from a crane at the Tremble Tower site. Honestly, you think you know a guy. Now this place is chaos, and the porters are hunting down any more plants he may have stashed in the patient's rooms. So I had to help out today. Talk about distraction from my research.
What a shame.
Well, the good news is all those guys in comas are on the mend. So much for the tower, though.
The tower?
Well, sure. It was all over the papers this morning. Wayne Enterprises bought the site. There were rare plants growing there or something. I can't say I'm too bummed. I was gonna block the light to my balcony. Anyway, here we are. Your new room, Ivy. The Wayne wing just opened. I guess you would do an upgrade.
Thanks, Bruce.